Good evening. It's almost 10 o'clock. It is May 27th, Wednesday. And I actually recorded a video and I deleted it because I was rambling but not being as coherent because my thoughts weren't as succinct because I was still trying to process it. So this is a re-record. Uh, Today, what knocked COVID-19 off the front page of the news was the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis last night. This is the man who was arrested for, it sounds like bogus charges, honestly. But during his arrest, four officers got him to the ground. A white officer kneeled on the man's neck. And there's a video, which I watched. It's 9 minutes long. I think it's a must that every American needs to see that video from beginning to end. It ends with him being carried off in the ambulance, and supposedly he died at the hospital, though I have a weird feeling he may have probably died en route or while he was there. And so this video captures 9 minutes. It is agonizing to watch. You see the bystanders getting increasingly more alarmed as they see him lose consciousness and reach the point of death. And the officer remains with his knee on his neck, shifting a little bit, so it's kind of like pressing down even more. At one point, he looks at the camera, and he kind of has this weird little smirk on his face, unfazed over the fact that he's killing another man. I mean, even when he loses consciousness, he should have removed his knee, but he kept it on him. At one point, he taunts him when he was still conscious, saying, "Get up." Well, of course the man can't get up. He's handcuffed with a knee on his neck in a prone position that he would not be able to get up. And the man is begging for his life, begging to be able to breathe, calling out for his mother, explaining to the officer the pain he's feeling, that he can't breathe, and then, of course, he goes silent. It's horrific. And the reason I think everybody needs to watch the full length, not just the small snippets that we're seeing on the news that are 10 seconds long or even 30 seconds long. When you see the thing from beginning to end, it's much more horrifying because you see how prolonged it is, how panicked the people on the street get over witnessing a murder, and the callousness and I don't care attitude of that officer and the other officer who's witnessing what is going on and letting it happen. This is the most intense, insidious broadcast of racism in real time, because it's not edited. The video, you can see the whole unedited video. This country is ill. This is an illness that has been festering since slavery began in this country. And it's been allowed to fester. And of course, we have a president who's known racist, who encourages racists, who encourages racist acts, calling them good people. That they're Americans too. Well, yes, they're Americans, but they're not good people. So he's emboldened the racists in this country. He makes all these racist remarks about Africa and minorities, and then every now and then he'll do one nice thing for one black person so that he can then say, "Oh, I'm not a racist. See, I did this." It's like the people that say, "I can't be racist. I have a black friend." The fact that you say I have a black friend alone tells me you've got bigotry in your blood. You have a friend who happens to be black. There's a big difference between saying I have a black friend and I have a friend. What kind of friend is he? Describe him to me. Well, he's college educated, blah, 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 blah. What? And if somebody asks me what skin tone it is, I say, "Oh, he's black." Because I have friends who happen to be black. I perceive them as friends first. I don't ignore the fact that they're black, because I realize being black in this country comes with a host of issues and problems and cultural stereotypes and oppression. So I can't ignore that they're black, but I don't classify them as black friends because I never say I have a white friend. I don't say I have a white friend. We don't say that. We have friends. You know, it's skin tone is not the issue when you're having an interpersonal relationship with someone. When you're having the relationship with a person in a cultural context and society, yes, race matters because people perceive things differently because there's so many fucking racists in this country. But yeah, I mean, there's just the term "I have a black friend." I always just it drives me nuts because I would go, "Well, do you have white friends?" Well, of course I do. Like that's the given. Like having a black friend makes you exceptional. That's how ingrained racism is in this country. And you know, having grown up in another country, coming to this one, where in Mexico we have racism now in some of the larger cities. It's a fabulous cultural expert from the United States. But growing up in the rural central Mexico, where you had bloodlines from the Spanish and the native population so intermingled, you could have two parents look white, but then their kids are various shades of brown, from very dark to very light, because the grandparents were mixed blood. And so the genetics are just so confused, you know, so the kids can come out any color. And actually, that's one of the first questions that's asked when a baby's born. What color did it come out? Because you could have in one family, I remember with my friend Jose de Jesus Arredondo Gonzalez, he was just about as white as I was. And his sister was practically black. And they were full-blooded related. Because on one side of this family, they were from the Veracruz, and there was they weren't sure about their descendants, but they might have a black branch in their family tree along with the native Indian population from Veracruz, which tends to be a much darker skin tone, versus the central Mexican Indians tend to be a bit lighter skin tone, which is the side of his mother, I think it was. So anyhow, the bloodlines are so intermixed that you literally had in this family, they were like 7 kids. You had just about every shade of skin tone in one family. So it'd be a little bit tricky to be racist, because then how could you be racist to someone in your own family because you've got so many different shade tones? What we did have in Mexico, though, and it's unforgivable, it's almost a caste system where socioeconomic levels do not mix. So if you were the poor, you were destined to be poor. You were not to go outside of your level. It was very rare. This whole American dream of, I'm going to become rich and successful. No. If you were poor, you were to remain poor. If you're middle class, you're to remain middle class. If you're the wealthy, there. If you're the uber wealthy, you're in a whole different group. And those circles did not mix. They seldom ever crossed tiers. We had that. And one of the ways you could tell who was of which class is you looked at their shoes, the condition of their shoes, and what kind of shoes they were. And if you ever wonder why, if you go to Mexico, you'll see like there's areas of town for shopping, and there's tons of shoe stores. It's because shoes were a major thing, because it determined your class. And people was always trying to appear more upper class by wearing nicer shoes than what they were in the class they belonged to. But as I said, that was Mexico. But we didn't have this kind of racism like you see in the United States. Part of it too is because Spain abolished slavery so early on in the slavery history. So Mexico doesn't have that lengthy legacy that the United States has. But it's insidious how it is in the United States. Having a friend going to a store with them and getting followed by security. Not me. He was, because he was black. And it became very apparent why he was being followed. It was his skin tone. He came from a well-to-do family. He had more money than I did. I wasn't being followed, but he was. He could afford the stuff in the store. I couldn't. But security was following him because of his skin tone. And I went with him so he could go shopping. And he bought stuff. And it was almost like the people had a sigh of relief. Oh, he was a customer after all. I was visible. And it was like, oh my God. And he said, yeah. And he made a joke about it. interesting because at the time I think he had a gold American Express. It's amazing, or and back then it was a big deal, or maybe it was a platinum. I forget. The credit card he had meant status, and he said it was interesting how everybody all of a sudden smiled when they saw the kind of credit card he had. It's like, oh, okay, you're cool. And then of course they treated him really well, but it'd be so obvious, so obvious. So I mean, there's racism in all these insidious little ways in this country, but our president has liberated the racists to run rampant and do things and not be ashamed of it. Like the incident in Central Park with the woman calling up the cops because a black man told her that her dog should have been leashed in that section of the park because of the section of the park it is the dogs have to be unleashed. Just mentioned it to her, and she called the police and claimed she was being attacked by him. Basically, she was calling the police to come do to him what happened in Minnesota. And the kicker, the protests last night. The protests arrived peacefully to protest the murder. They were met with tear gas. And of course, the police shot the tear gas because they wouldn't disperse. And next thing you know, riot broke out. Of course. Flashback, couple weeks. A whole bunch of white yahoos stormed the Capitol with their AK-47s to protest the fact of the closures and that they have to wear masks. Was there riot police there? No. Did they shoot tear gas to these people? No. What was the difference of the makeup of those two groups? Black versus white. The white people with the guns, and they got in the building. Nothing happens to them. The black protests over police brutality. The police fire tear gas. Escalate the situation. Imagine had they showed up with AK-47s. Imagine the black protesters showing up with AK-47s ready to storm the building like the white people did. The police wouldn't have used tear gas. They would have either machine gunned them down. Absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, the double standard in this country. And this is in Minnesota, the North. They didn't have all the segregation laws up there like they had in the South. I've had people from Minnesota tell me, oh, we're such a liberal state and open thinking, and we don't have problems with racism. Look what's happened. It's everywhere in this country. There's lots, yes, it's bad in the South, but it's everywhere too. So this thing of we're Northerners, we don't have this kind of issue, bullshit. And I'm really upset about it. I've verged on tears several times today just seeing it. And you need to watch the entire video. This is a must, because if you see a clip, it's harrowing. But it isn't as agonizing as watching the full fucking 9 minutes. It does not capture the level of horror. Because I first saw the clips and was startled. But until I saw the full unedited 9 minutes event, it took my horror to a whole nother level. So it is a must to be watched. It is going to be uncomfortable. But you don't understand the amount of hatred, how evil is operating till you see that 9-minute clip. It does not compare. Because you have to see, part of it isn't just what he's doing to him, this police officer's doing to him. It's the crowd, the dawning realization that they are helpless because, they're going to be maced or shot at if they try to intervene. So they're helpless. And the crowd is not, there's a couple of white people in there. So it isn't just a black crowd. So people go, oh, it's just a black crowd trying to protect their own. No, there's a white woman who's screaming her lungs off to the fellow white officer to maybe try to connect with him based on race. And he's still ignoring her because his hate for that man that he's killing is greater than anything else. Those are my thoughts for today, for the news item that kicked COVID-19 off the front page of the news today. Truly sad day in America. Truly sad. Please like, subscribe, ring the notification if you want to be notified of any future videos that I make. And love each other. Love each other. Have a good evening, and if you see this tomorrow, have a good morning or a good afternoon. I'll do my regular sign off.